Hello and welcome to Cracked Open, a podcast guiding you on your journey to becoming a vessel of unconditional love. This is your host, Beck Milonis, High Priestess, Channel, and Activator. Join me on this series as I share reflections, insights, and channel transmissions from my journey of walking the initiation path. Each episode is a unique transmission containing supportive frequencies to facilitate the deepest healing, activation, and reconnection with your soul. I invite you to open your mind and set the intention to receive this episode into your heart space. Let's go. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Cracked Open podcast. Today, I have a beautiful and very special guest, my dear friend, Tiaga. He's rocking the share thing. We were just saying, I was like, that's okay, cool, Tiaga, love it. Just one name, which is a beautiful name, by the way. I love it. I don't know how you came up with it, but I adore it. Tiaga and I are actually, we met in Bali. So we are friends that came into each other's vortex in Bali. And it was really funny. There was just this moment where we just saw each other across the spa and it was like click and everything kind of like fell into place. Because I know we were kind of in each other's fields for a while and there was an interest of like, who is this person and what are they doing? But there was this moment when it all just kind of aligned and we got chatting and we were like, shit, we do similar things and we have a very similar journey. And even all of our like moons and not moons, all of our planets are in the same houses, which is crazy looking at each other's charts. So before I hand it over to introduce you, my love, Tiaga is a yogi and a mentor. He helps you to master your life force and reclaim your sovereignty to create your ideal life. He's also just a really beautiful human. And I would love for you to tell us about yourself and how you got to be here. I know you've got a very interesting backstory and did a lot of crazy things before you made it here. So I would love to hear about that. And I'm sure some of our audience would as well.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here. I have to say that I'm loving your podcast. Fan number one. Like, you just felt that energy since you're like, I'm launching this and this is it. And like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm like, oh my God. And like, I start from episode 1. I was like, episode 2, episode 3. And it's like my to go when I'm driving. I love them. Actually want to revisit them.
This is not a paid endorsement, by the way. Didn't tell him to say this, but I love it.
I just because I feel you, I trust you, I believe in you, and as you said, we have all these planets, and there was no coincidence when we actually was like, wait, what? This is your chart? No, this is my chart. Wait, what? This is our chart, and like like I really feel that connection, and that's why I fully feel in trust and love to come into this space, safe space, and share our stories. So let's get juicy.
Yay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get juicy.
Thank you for presenting me. You said, yeah, you share about me. I help you reclaim your life force. Well, okay, let's start from I'm Tiaga. I am from Colombia. I've been living in Bali for the past 3 years. I am 38 years old, but probably I'm like, I don't know how many years in the count of
You're
all
ancient. You're old as fuck.
And it's been a beautiful journey of coming back to self, and I feel very grateful for this for this moment in life and this experience in this physicality and finding the answers and the alignment that we are finding today with all that it is. So I think it could be interesting to start from where we said about reclaiming your life force. Why do I present myself like that, and what brought me into that point? And we could say reclaiming your life force could be reclaiming your sexual energy, reclaiming your feminine energy, reclaiming activating your kundalini energy. We could say life force, sexual, feminine, it's all the same. And for me, I basically reclaim my sexual energy because I choose to come to this life and be sexually abused. Have become be gay. I am a gay man, And that was my big part of my learnings in this lifetime. I'm gonna be that person. Let's go. Boom. And that's when my search started, because I grew up very confused. I grew up very confused because I was abused at a very early age, and that's the way I share this, and the way I remember this after all these healings and remembering is like being a happy child, a happy kid, playful, innocent, fun, playing with little cars, and then an event happens, and then it's like all of a sudden that is distorted, and I start replay, and then all of a sudden it's like boom, you are like uh, yeah, it's your chip, your hard drive is distorted, and all of a sudden you then stop living that reality and you start living another energy reality that is not yours. And this is basically what happened to me with being abused, of like from one moment to the other, I have been, my power has been stolen. I have this energy that don't belong to me has been introduced to me, and then I am controlled by this energy for my next 30 years without knowing.
I
So
love this. Yeah, so much energy is moving as you're talking about this. It's like, whoa, and all these themes of like reclaiming that innocence of that energy and that fucking, you were this pure child, right? We had a similar kind of story. I wasn't abused sexually, but I did have other abuse. And I remember I was this bright, fucking joyful, like sassy little, like nothing, bothered me. And in these events that we experience, it's almost like our light is snuffed out and the world smothers us in this way where we then contract. So yeah, sorry, keep going, but I just wanted to add into that, like already some stuff is moving. I love it.
please do, please do. Yes. And so then I'm confused because I don't know why I am just replicating this experience that I've been through, and then I am starting to sexualize something. So I'm not seeing anymore the cars and the innocence, but all of a sudden I'm looking more into object sexualizing, and like what feeds that energy is like a control, is really a possession of like, get horny, look at that, replicate, look for it, and create that reality. So in very early stages, I was very confused, but I was very promiscuous without not even knowing why. And I grew up like that. And I grew up with that promiscuity and looking for sex, looking for casual sex, looking for being touched, looking for, yeah, like in that way where I really had no idea. It was like completely hypnotized, but just do it. And you don't really have sovereignty about your energy at all. And there's a leak of your energy because then you are depleted. So then you are disempowered. So basically my power, my full power was in control of this energy. And then I am growing up also, and I am growing up being a feminine and like not being the typical little boy at school that likes to play football and these type of things, but I just want to stay with the girls and I don't want to play that, and I'm feminine. So then I start being bullied because I don't fit whatever the stereotype of a boy looks like, especially in a country like Colombia, in a third world country, and in this society. And then authority start failing on me. There's no one to really support me, and I am a fully possessed little child being that have lost his power and is trying to find himself. And on top of that, he's being bullied and silenced because he's different. And so you grow up in these societies and in these societies that are built that they fail to protect you. There's not a school where like doesn't matter, that teach you about gender and it's okay to be who you are and accept each other, but there is just either is A or B, and either you look this way or you look this way, and if you're not this way, and trust me, I was for 8 years of all my preschool until I start being like a more like a teenager. when I say teenager, it's around 15, 16 years old. But before that, I was bullied. Like if my school were 2,000 people, I was bullied by 1,999 kids. Every time I will walk around, I will ask something, I will be like laughed at. Like people will just turn around and like, like just talk like the way I talk. I was chubby, whatever it was, but it was a constant, yeah, it was a constant horrible. So I grew up silenced, abused, with all the fears of expressing myself, and not knowing why, like with this huge confusion, or why am I gay, or why I look like men, and the society is teaching me that this, I'm seeing that this is not good, and why is this is coming from inside of me. I didn't choose to be like in that age. You're like, this is mine, I'm natural, this comes from within, you know. And I don't know, we could talk about this afterwards, but I don't know if because of my abuse, then that was my tendency, because I am extremely comfortable and happy, and I love men, and I did have the chance to try with women, and I choose men. So, but in that point back then, I'm growing up like that. And then even the fucking religion, and my mom, in all that time, my family were very Christian. All of a sudden they became crazy and they're super Christian and going to the church. And we go to the church one day, and the talk of the pastor was, we have to pray for the gay people that are in sin. And I'm sitting there in front of this man and next to my mother. And I am like, thank God I'm a little older, but still I'm only like 14, 15 years old. And I still feel rejected, and I still feel abandoned, and I feel completely confused. And my mother loves me very much and everything, but the first thing that their instinct is like, I need to save my daughter, I need to save my son. So I was put in a psychologist, and they were like, how do we save him? He's not normal, he's not good, there's something wrong with him. So yeah, so like because of all of that, I decide unconsciously to create these facades and these personas of like, no one is going to bully me, no one is going to come after me. So then I am the biggest arrogant asshole you can ever imagine.
Preach. Yeah, because so many of us, we're so sensitive and we're so different and we're so unique, and we're taught like early on, it's not safe for you to be who you are, and the world is cruel to us. So we put up these fucking I did the same thing, babe. I did the same thing. Was hardened, like too cool for everyone. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm this tough boxing bitch. I'm gonna use you for sex. I don't care. It's really funny. I was saying to Tiaga before I got off the phone, before we got on the call, I actually had some random guy reach out to me yesterday who I hooked up with like 10 years ago, and it just brought back this reflection of this person I used to be and how I used men in this way as a protection mechanism, right? Like, it was like, if I am like this towards everyone else, then they can't reject me first. So we build this barrier because we're so sensitive. And I also want to say as well, it's interesting, like a lot of healers and people who are here, sensitive beings, have a lot of this sexual energy and life force energy because it's healing energy, which I'm going to talk about in a whole other episode. But we have so much of it, and our society tells us that it's one thing, and so then we are chastised for expressing it in that way. We don't actually have the framework to know what that, does it need to express sexually? It can express in so many other ways, creative energy, whatever that is, healing energy. But when we express it in that way, and then we're rejected even more, and we're on the outcast, and like really society's like, you're fucking wrong, you're bad, you're sinful, you should feel guilty and shameful, and having these desires makes you shameful and makes you bad. And there's just all this guilt that's put on us for having this energy that's just so innately part of us, right? Which doesn't necessarily need to express sexually, as we'll discuss later, but that's how we're taught that it needs to express, right? So of course it's going to come out in that expression, and then of course we're going to get chastised for that. So yeah.
Yeah. So I build up this strong, this arrogance completely, and exactly what you were saying. Like, and it just came in, like, it's very unconscious. Like all of a sudden I am called, or I am known as this. Oh no, he's like, he thinks he's like, I don't know, the best thing, like super arrogant. Like he looks everyone like from up. Like even my body language, everything was like, I am like the best thing ever in the world. But it was just, it was for me don't come near me. And I didn't realize that for many years, and a lot of anger inside of me and protecting my heart completely. And then that was due to the bullying and the silencing and everyone coming after me. That kind of also gave me the other side of the sword. How do you say, like, well, the sword has, like, to, yeah, yeah,
Blades,
like,
edges,
yeah,
ends.
again, the other side, the other side of the sword, the blade, the edge of, like, that put me a fire on my ass. And then I'm like, I really believe I was that best thing ever in the world, on top of everyone, and anything I wanted to do, I achieved to do, and I just managed to do. But with that came also a big price, because I put myself on big leagues many times, and you cannot compete with people that had created also a strong foundation, a strong base, and I didn't have it. So I had a lot of failures also on my life too because of that. But still, it was I understood all of these after, when my healing journey started. But that fire brought, yeah, I lived it like in more than 8 countries, and I studied from design to fashion to communication, and yeah, I did everything kind of like I wanted in the world, and that supported me very. That was a huge, beautiful journey of mine, of like evolving. But there was always, it was a facade. There was behind that, I was that little boy in school being bullied, broken, and confused. And was not only until I was 33 years old with my dark night of the soul that I lost everything in my life. And with that, all these facades, all these identities crumbled down. And for the first time in my life, I had to look inside, and I have to look back. And I was that little boy back in school, confused, bullied, angry, silenced, not being able to express himself. And that's when my journey started, coming back home, that hero's journey, coming back to myself, to pick up my boy and to heal all this and show him a different way of relating, creating, doing. And that it's the moment where I remember my abuse, and I realized why all my life also I was promiscuous, and I was diluting my energy, and I was controlled by that energy. So all of that came in that huge realization in that moment, which was very clear for me. Wow, like all those identities really crumbled down. I was like, wow, I've been arrogant all my life because of this. I've been, my ventures and my projects always, they don't come into fruition at a certain point because of this, and my relationships also because of this. And I thought I was this hot Colombian boy, and I was just horny. And actually, I
And you
had
are.
I also had this nickname where, like, my friends will call me Cachonda, and Cachonda is like horny, slutty horny or something. And my jokes, and I will be just, everyone will be like, ha ha ha, because we will go out, and I will come back next morning in the breakfast with friends like, oh, I had sex with this one and with this one, and I went with the ones from the orgy, and I did all of this. But how trapped, how zombie I was. I just thought that was really who I was, and that was completely far away from who I was.
Yeah.
And in that journey, when everything crumbles down, I start looking within. And a friend of mine, we always have this savior in our hero's journey. And this friend of mine, it was a very hard time for me. It was my dark night of the soul. I was married. I was happily, I loved this man. I had my dog. I had all of this, but I could not really open my heart, and I didn't know why. And everything crumbled in my life. I lost my job. I lost my company. I lost everything. And then that last part that I had, which was my relationship, I at the end sabotaged it. And the pain was so hard of sabotaging that relationship and not knowing why, when this man loved me so much, that gave me the fire to be like, I need to change it. There's something that is not working on me. And then that's when it appeared very clear of me, this abuse and all of this. And I just went to deep on it. And after being 17 years not coming back to my country, since I left, I went back home. And I went back to the farm where I was abused, and I realized, and I actually there realized why I never wanted to go to this farm afterwards. And I sit with my dad and I told him about it. uh, I really don't remember exactly the details of who did it, but I grew up in a very toxic environment. My dad had a huge farm with horses in a town, and every weekend I never wanted to go, and I was forced to go because I had to be with the father, and I am the older son, and I am a little feminine. And then the best thing is that he stays with his father and they show him masculine energy. The fuck masculine energy, masculine toxic energy. A dad that was an alcoholic, that was bringing prostitutes home, that was taking drugs in front of his kid, and completely unconscious. And with the love that my mother had, and me, my pain, crying, I don't want to go to the farm with my dad, mom, please. My mom was told by a psychiatric, by my psychology, let him be with his dad. He needs to be with father energy. And I was pushed to these fucking toxic, horrible place that I had no, that was my resistance. And I realized after, and this is where I was put in the front of all these energies and this abuse and whatever could happen to me. And that's what it happened, you know. And I love my father, my partner, my father and my mother, and so much for forgiveness and all of that. But I want to share this because there's a lot of, we don't know sometimes, and we're so unconscious, and parents are so unconscious, and there's such a lack of the reality of things, and just being pulled by what society says or whatever it is. And look at this huge mistake. My mother loving me and wanting the best for me, thinking that the best thing was to be with my father and not seeing his toxic masculinity and the environment that he was creating. And then I was in this tender space and vulnerable space where I got completely abused. And I received all these things that changed the course of my life. But at this point, because of that, going back circle, this friend of mine tells me, come back, I come back home, I'm healing all of these. And my friend tells me, hey, I want you to do this yoga. I think you will love it. And it was kundalini yoga. And I sat down and I did kundalini yoga. And in one class, it was like a activation. It was very insane for me. It was like I activated the memories of my body. It was like remembering I was energy. It was feeling vibration and ecstasy and home, and my body dancing, and I lost everything in the outside world. And here I was 33 years old. And before all of this happened, 2 years before, I was in Dubai. I was a creative director of a huge company. I was doing $15,000 a month. That was how I wanted to be on my 30s. And here I am a year after with huge debts, back in the country that I left when I was 16, not knowing, but deep inside of me, I will never come back to this country that bullied me, that treated me like shit, to all of this. So I left and I never wanted to come back. And imagine facing that fear at 33, coming back home, vulnerable, lost everything, no money, because every time I was going back to Colombia, I was this millionaire. Like, I come from Dubai, I lived in Barcelona, I lived in London, I come back home 2 months, hee ha ha ha. Again, I am this persona, but this time I came like that kid. I came like that little boy without anything that I thought I was, just raw, real, vulnerable, and go back to the farm, sit with my dad, sit with my mother, tell all the truth. And then, yeah, like, it's just always been very supported by my angels and by the energy. And immediately I was handled kundalini. It came to me and it activated all these things. And after the second class, I said, I want to learn this. I want to go for this. And I started doing kundalini, and then my heart was like Bali, 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 Bali. And I've been in Bali when I was 20 years old. I did have like a little glimpse of a spiritual journey. I drink ayahuasca when I was like 19 years old. And that led me to go to India, and I stayed in India for a year, and I learned yoga and I learned a lot of things. And then I came to Bali and I stayed here for a month with my mother. And then it was like very this moment of like, oh my God, do I go back to India and pursue this? Because I felt very deep on me, a huge connection with yoga and all of that. This is when I was like 19, 20 years old. But then there was also my desire to go back to the world and everything. And literally, like I was choosing in the airport, either I go back with my mom to the world, or I go back to India and I want to become this yogi and an ashram. And I came to the world, and then I lived in all the places that I lived, and it was awesome. But when I landed in Bali at the 35, and I've been here for 4 months, and I sit down with, there's so many wizards here and astrologers, and this information just comes to you. And then the information came to me like, hey, you came to pick up where you left when you were 20. Now is the time.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. There's something you said that I really want to like, just like, it's like every hero's journey. I had a similar moment of having to go home and literally just fucking torn apart. Not literally, I don't want to say, I'm trying to not say literally so much because it's not literal, Beck. Just been torn apart. I had failed like my first year of trying to be a coach, and I had $300 and I had to be on the sewing room floor of my parents' apartment because they just sold the house as well. And that was like my rock bottom. That was like the worst case scenario for me, was if this fails and I end up broke and I have to move back into my parents in Sydney, where I'd been living in Melbourne and I'd been away from home since 18. That was like the lowest moment I could possibly imagine for myself. And it happened. I was there. I had no money. I was relying on them. I didn't even have a bed. I was on this fucking blow up mattress, having this huge kundalini awakening, and all of my healing, it's like catapulted in that moment, while my parents are next door and they're triggering me and all this stuff. So it's like we almost have to go back to where we were, completely raw, and strip back of all these identities and all of these versions of ourselves that we'd built up, to go through that process, to be reborn, right? To be reborn as something new
Right.
and then start the new journey. Yeah.
And rewrite that story, because it was
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. So I understood that, but I went back to the farm. Also I was already this experienced man that has grown up and that has gone through all of this. And so it was like rewriting that story of coming back there and creating a new reality. And in the beginning, it was very shocking, and I started having panic attacks, and I actually end up in a psychiatric, and I never went to a psychiatric. And here I was, also my 33 years old, going through my hardest time in my life, sitting with a psychiatrist and being medicated, because it was just these panic attacks and these energies coming up for me. And just because I lost completely everything, I just didn't know where to hold on from. And but still, I'm very grateful. There's something inside of me, and there's this fire and this faith that has always kept me going. And I knew I was in the hardest moment, but I knew I had a purpose. And there's just a knowing that I will evolve, I will transform. There is something for me. And that's what always kept me going, even in the hardest times. But I stayed home. I stayed like for 6 months until Colombia and everything. And it was until Bali, and it was actually Christmas. And I actually said, I want to spend in this farm again at Christmas. And I actually want my mother to come, and my brother and my sister. And I invite them all. And even my nanny that grew up with us for 30 years, that didn't work with us anymore. And we had a Christmas in this farm as grown-ups, loving, having walks. And I gave that to my little boy. I say, this is your remembering now of this farm. This is your remembering now of family, of this. This is now your new memory. And it was beautiful, and it was very powerful. And yeah, after that, I came to Bali pursuing kundalini. And woof, it's been such a powerful also journey, healing my sexual energy, healing the connection and the relationship with my sexual energy, healing all that, because it was disconnected, completely disconnected, distorted, promiscuous, possessed, thousands, well, hundreds of different men that I have engaged in.
Yeah. I'm glad you're going there, because that's where I was going to kind of like guide us to go. I'm curious, like when you said this, did you go celibate? Because part of my journey was literally celibacy. It was celibacy. So I had to go celibate for a while and just like re-pattern my relationship to this energy, and realizing it's God, it's life force flowing through me. And it was super sexual and pleasurable and orgasmic. But it was the first time I realized like I can have that sensation and that pleasure through connection to the divine. And it's fucking pure and it's beautiful and it's so holy and sacred. So I had to literally like stop having sex. I had to stop sleeping around. I had to stop engaging with anyone. Like, was that part of your journey, or how did that manifest for you to take? I know you said you had to get rid of all this energy from men. Something I did as well. It was like realizing how much of the trauma and the codes and the stuff that I'd taken on in my womb space from men. Like I was just holding all of this crap that wasn't mine. Because, well, for as a female, I don't know like what it's like for you, but as a female, when that penis like literally penetrates into your womb space, they are entering your body. Like they are putting that stuff into your body. And that's energetically too, right? It's not even like the physical, but like physically with women, we are being entered. So they're lit, and I guess with you, they're entering you as well. It depends if you're top and a bottom, but like, you know, it's similar. Like when you're interacting in that physical space, that person's energy is entering your field. And even when you're just close with someone and you're
Yeah.
exchanging that energy. So what was the process for you? And how can people start to, you know, go on this process to reclaim that energy?
Yeah. Well, there was a couple of things that happened simultaneously because I came to Bali. So I'm here in Bali, and then yeah, I arrived in this island where like it's not really a gay destination, and that was like a sport because all of a sudden I was like, okay, there's no men. And then but I was very focused on my practice and everything. I didn't came here on holiday. I was just focusing on my practice, on kundalini yoga, waking up every morning. And I had no idea about the context of kundalini yoga. This just made me feel really good. And I was fine. I was looking for truth and wisdom within my practice. I never pick a book or what is this, or how does this work, or what is this doing. I'm more heart-based, more feeling-based. I'm not intellectual. I don't need to know. If it makes me feel, I go for it. And that's who I am. So I never pick a book or anything. I was just like fully devoted on my practice. And I start noticing that I was not horny anymore. That energy that controlled me for all my life, that if it was not with porn or masturbation or casual sex or applications, and it was overwhelming many times because I don't know, maybe in Christmas or with my family in vacation, and then this energy will come and just take me out of just being in family and push me to like go in the apps or look at porn or masturbate yourself. And like sometimes I was like, I don't want this. And it was just like this huge desire, controlment, energy, not mine, you know. So I noticed that, and I was like, wow, what's going on? And 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and wow, I haven't also ejaculated in this time. And then on top of that, sometimes maybe I want to meet someone or something. I was like, wow, and there's really no one in this island, because also it was the pandemic, and it was when COVID hit, and I was living in Ubud, and there was no one, and there was like literally no one, and it was like, okay, it's my time
Can
for me.
I
Yeah,
share? It's really funny. Like the universe cock blocked you in that way. When I went on this journey, I remember I tried to download Tinder one day, and I went to go like load my Tinder, and it was like, there is no one in your area. And I'm like, are you serious? I live in Canggu, babe. Like there is literally a million fucking fuck boys here. Like they're everywhere. But I was cut off from it. It was like God, my higher self, source, my soul was literally just like, you cannot
yeah.
like that's not available for you right now. It's off the table. You can't. So it's great. I love that it was
It
a
was
similar
for
experience for
me,
you
and
as well.
I realized that, and I understood that because I was completely out of it, and it was like a year and a half, and that led me to find pleasure with myself for the first time. That led me like, okay, hey, I'm still sexual, and I'm still need to feel it, and how just start like being curious of how can I give pleasure to myself, because I was elevating my frequency and my energy, and I wasn't even also anymore feeling attracted to porn and watching porn and none of that. And it was just like, how can I start connecting with myself? And it was beautiful because during that year and a half, it was only me and my self exploration. And then after that, I start pursuing and going to do Kundalini yoga teacher training and tantra and all of this, and it's when I receive all the context of what was going on with me, and I had no idea. And I learned with that, with what kundalini I was doing was elevating my energy that was stocking my balls. And I was with the breath work and the technology, elevating that energy up to my higher centers. And was the reason that then I wasn't anymore controlled by this energy, because like if you have 1 million volts in your balls, well, you're fucking horny all day. But if you really transmute this energy and move it around to your higher centers, and from sexual energy, the energy becomes life force, becomes spiritual energy. And also my physicality, I was radiant, my skin was awesome. I was waking super at 5 in the morning with my roommates. We were going into the shala, cold shower, doing 2 hours of kundalini yoga every morning, and then yeah, the Bali lifestyle, which was beautiful, cacao, this, that, yoga here, yoga there, and like the distortion of sexuality, of darkness, of low frequencies. There was no space for that. I was very supported by that. And then the not ejaculating, when I learned Tantra and I learned about semen retention, I was like, holy fuck. What I've been doing is cultivating sexual energy and transmuting sexual energy. And in that transmutation of sexual energy is how I am activating my kundalini. And this is the path of liberation, that this energy that I used to throw away through casual sex, through masturbation, through ejaculating, is becoming my fuel that has awakened me, that is healing me, that is bringing light into my shadow, and that is liberating me from my sexual karma and all the people I have slept with and all the energies that I have within me. And I just been purging that, going and on and on. I was like, wow, what? Like, it was a whole breakthrough moment. And that's the moment where I receive, this is what I have to do for my community. This is what I have to share this. This is my purpose. I am reclaiming my sovereignty. I am reclaiming my sexual energy. I am healing that wound. It's like if when I was a child and I was abused, that whoever did that stabbed me. And that wound has been open for all my life, where my energy has been leaking. And all of a sudden that has been healed, and I am taking the power back. And then and then with the breath work and the movement and this that I'm doing, not only I am cultivating that power, but then I am transmuting to my higher centers, and my chakras are opening, and I am healing all the shadow that is within me.
Welcome to the portal of potential, the sacral chakra, the seat of sacred sexuality. Within the sacral chakra lies the key to limitless creativity, pleasure, play, and abundance. Introducing the Passion Portal. This short, multi-dimensional online retreat will allow you to heal, unblock, and access the untapped potential within your sacral, reclaim your sacred sexuality, and open the portal to a passionate, pleasurable, and prosperous life. Head to the link in the show notes or check out my website for more information. Now let's get back to this episode. I want to say, just to interject, like, it's so important for people to realize that this is so tactical for us to be siphoned in this way and to be taught to over-sexualize ourselves or watch porn or hookup culture, all of this stuff. At the same time, also being told that it's guilty, it's shameful, it's bad, right? Like, there's so much stuff that's distorting our sexual energy for a reason, because it's our sovereignty, it's our life force, it's what we can create with, it's what we can connect to the divine with, it's what we can connect to others with. Like, it is our healing life force energy, which is connecting us to our divine DNA, right? It's literally God moving through us. And so, of course, the systems, the society, the patriarchy, whatever, the people who want to enslave us want to keep us cut off from that, right? They want to keep us spending it on porn, ejaculating. They want to spend it on Tinder and hookups and all the time, making us feel guilty about it, which is
they want to keep us disempowered.
Yeah.
So they have the power.
Yeah.
And we are disempowered, we are controlled, and we are not sovereign.
Yeah.
And then COVID, and then you're in fear, you are in control, you are hooked, we're puppets. A soul that reclaims their sexual sovereignty is a free person. It's a man, and I talk from as being a man that reclaims his sexual energy, that heals the relationship with his cock, and that rises this energy, is a man that cannot be controlled, is a sovereign man, is a man that has stepped into his manhood. And this
Yes.
man that we are meant to be, and that the world is calling us, and that this is the man that needs to show up as a father, as a brother, as a lover, as a friend, as a part, as whatever we need to show up. It's a sovereign man, because when we are controlled by our urges, we are disempowered. And when we are disempowered, we are not sovereign.
I love your fire when you're talking about this. It's so good. It's like, yes, amen. You tell them, man.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah,
And it's so true. It's so true. And that energy, you were saying your skin looked better. You had this energy to do stuff, this creative. Oh, you've had a coffee. That's why you're like, go.
coffee.
It's a beautiful tea. I love that.
Yeah.
It can be used in so many ways, right? This energy is so versatile, and for you is that fire that was healing you, right? So for me, my kundalini is so powerful and so strong, and sometimes she's like igniting this creativity and this spark in me. Sometimes it feels really orgasmic, and I just feel like I'm in deep pleasure, and I'm lying on my bed having multiple orgasms and no one's touching me. Like sometimes it's that, sometimes it's healing energy. So sometimes that fire is burning through me, removing stuff, and it's painful when it does that, but it's all used for different reasons, and it depends on what you channel that into, right? And so it's so dumb that we just channel it and waste it into relationships and people and situations and into a tissue or whatever it is, and we're not cultivating and using that. And again, it's tactical. I love that. I would love for you to touch on, you started talking about masculinity, and I did a podcast, and we talked on the phone about this, how I did this podcast around the divine feminine and divine masculine, but it was in a very straight context. So I would love to hear for you what that relationship between the masculine and the feminine is, as a man who, you said you had this feminine energy, but I know now, like, you're really stepping into some beautiful divine masculine. I can see that in just how you're leading and stepping up. But what that dynamic is like for you and your partner, I know he supports you sometimes, and there's does that shift? Do you guys switch polarities? Like, how does that work for you? And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, it's right now it has been one of my biggest learnings, because there's layers on layers. So like the moment I build this arrogant facade, and I am going to go after this and nobody can touch me, that is masculine energy, but based also from a distorted and fear, and and that's the way I had to move on life to protect me and to be able to create my life. And as I am returning back to my heart, and I'm really actually activating and coming back to my feminine, and allowing myself to be vulnerable, and allowing myself to receive. And it's been a journey, and because this has been my past year learnings, and I freaking out to let go of that hyper independence that I always had, because I don't need anything, I don't need anyone. I create my life because that was what I choose, the way I can do it, and the way I succeed from everything that happened. And having someone that truly loves you, and that wants to support you, and that wants to be part of your life and come inside, has been for me like the biggest challenge, to really allow myself to be on my feminine side. And I think it's so powerful and so beautiful, because it's truth, is being vulnerable, and just show yourself truly the way you are, and with your fears, and ask for support, and being seen and being held. and yeah, so yeah, in between us, we are starting our story. And before, it was like very too hyper independent man, and like, oh yeah, what's up, and you're successful, and like showing from that facade. But as we have come closer and closer, and we're just peeling all those layers, um in this situation, for example, it was very vulnerable for me to go deep into this relationship and let go all these fears and all these hyper independent. Then I felt vulnerable, I felt confused, I had all my nervous system shocked completely, even vertigo and circulation problems, and it was just like the resistance to let go, and feeling and not knowing really, and just feeling being that vulnerable, and just letting be, allowing myself to be held by him. But this is a pure, strong masculine energy, distorted or not, that I've been all my life, and is leaning into that feminine right now. It has been, is a huge empowering, and like for me a huge growth. But it's me at this point of my journey allowing the feminine to rise, being allowing to be that and to be held. And he also, for him, he's stepping more into his masculinity. It's crazy. Before, he had an older, was married with an older guy, and was more taken care of and everything. And here he in his journey, he divorced, and he's building his house, and he's stepping into his power and being more independent and into his stand. And I come in this particular moment where I am this feminine that requires to be held and to be loved and to be heard. And he's stepping up into his manhood and in that beautiful masculinity. And it's like, I see you, I hold you. And that has been like a beautiful experience, and one of the most challenging also in my journey right now.
Yeah.
And believe that at some point, because that's life, I'll be strong again, or I'm rising, and then maybe he will need support. And this experience right now has taught me very much as an experience when maybe the roles change.
I love that. So cool. You feel like it's going to be like this, you guys exchange. So like he'll be, I mean, this is also for straight relationships. I don't want to say that the man always has to be in the masculine, the woman always has to be in the feminine, but it's so beautiful that you have that dynamic where he can step up and you can see like he's stepping up into his feminine. So I'm going to soften back. And I know that, and I remember when you were going through all of that, you were on the phone to me a lot, and we were talking, having conversations at the spa about you, like the resistance to allowing yourself to be fully supported in this way. And it's so beautiful to watch a man go through that. Like, it was like, wow, like it's cool, like to have that reflection, because we were going through similar things at the time. So it's beautiful that that dynamic can shift and change, and you can be, you know, that for each other, but it's also, you have that within yourselves, right? So it's like you have that union internally.
And I think not only with the big challenges or experiences, but on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Daily basis. Sometimes you just want to be held and listen, and something is going well, and you just want to lean in. And sometimes you're like, and then you're like, come on, I hold you, or the other day or the opposite. And I think it's a continuous thing, and it's a daily thing. And I think we can't, we pass from A to B at every moment of the day, I think. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I was like, I need to have someone speak into this, because I don't want to like negate half my audience, or whatever percentage. The kind of final question I want to ask you is, for someone who's listened to this and they are like, wow, like I need to reclaim my sexual energy, I need to go on this path, what are some steps that they can take, or recommendations that you have for them on like starting this journey? And would it be solitude and celibacy, because that was really important for me, and obviously for you? Would it be learning to essentially give yourself that energy back, so learning how to self-love, like sensual touch, self-pleasure, all that stuff, like, or is it all of it? Like what would you recommend?
Look, yeah, definitely. And that's where I wanted to circle back. And it's not about suppression. It's not about suppression because we are sexual beings, because we just want to be held. We want to be connected. We want to feel ourselves. And we cannot make love to someone else if we have not made love to ourselves. Now, if I'm completely disconnected from my sexuality, and it's just been, and it's distorted and promiscuous and all of this, there needs to be a healing. So first, I need to make peace with it. I need to forgive. I need to heal that relationship, and then build that relationship. Because the journey back this is not about becoming a nun or becoming a priest or never touch yourself, because we're not going to.
I agree.
We're not going to go back at all into that guilt, shame, don't touch yourself. Not at all. Like, even with the men that I work on my programs and everything, is the Self-pleasuring is so important. It's a spiritual practice because but it's coming with love. It's just a difference when I grab my dick completely unconscious and I jerk it like a bubble gum and I make it spit and then I put it back. Or when I come with love and I connect with this beautiful part of me and I enjoy it and I touch it and I sit on my pleasure and I have the capacity to feel that horniness without looking to end it. There's a huge growth but it's the same. And that's what I wanted to say. Like, we still have sex. We still do things in all the same things in life. We just learn how to do them differently. We just learn how to have a conscious, healthy connection with it. So the journey first, yes. Why do we? Because I think there's a misconception there. Why we go celibate, or why automatically the world, the universe, our angels support us? Because we also need to be honest. If I am controlled, I'm still controlled by these energies, and I still haven't gained that capacity, then it needs a break. It needs that I don't engage for a moment, because I am building that. I am moving the energy. I am moving the breath. I am engaging in other things. Because otherwise, yeah, if it's controlling you from all your life, it's a big monster. It's an untamed horse. It takes a while to be able to take an untamed horse and then be able to ride the horse, right? So it needs the time. So it's not like go celibate, but engage in things that elevate your energy, elevate your frequency. Clean, open up a space, clear the energy. Everything that is attached to sexual energy, porn, desire, promiscuity, perversion, all of these are alive energies. They're dark, lower, or we don't need to say dark or light, but they're very low frequency energies, and they are alive. The moment you start elevating the energy in your space, playing mantras, lighting up an incense, lighting up a candle, doing some breath work, doing some yoga, bringing a plant in your house, opening your curtains, clear your closet from 20 years that maybe everything is old and you don't clear, change your sheets, let energy move, wash yourself properly, take a properly bath, take showers 2-3 times a day, move your energy. This is not a space for perversion. You will change the moment you change your environment within and outside. You start taking your power back, because that is not a space for these lower frequencies to be. And that's actually my recommendation number one. And that's actually how the first things when I start working with my people is your daily routine. Is clearing up the space. Is
purification. Yeah. It's like
purification. And that's my program actually. And that actually has been my journey, my understanding of my life journey, and what kundalini yoga is about, what detoxing is about, what juicing is about. All of these comes in the word that you just say, which is the magic word, and is purification. So the first things I do when I work with people is juicing, detoxing, cleaning, purifying inner and outer space. So we invite new energy, and then we start working on elevating the energy and elevating your frequency and rising and using the technology of kundalini to start bringing your energy up, and then everything is start transforming inside and outside. And then all that will guide you into the journey back to self, and will show you the way to reclaim your power, for sure. But I think these are simple and powerful things to do immediately.
Yeah, I love that. And I also love how you said, and you were really clear on, like, it doesn't mean becoming a nun. You just have to, maybe some of us, like I definitely needed to, it's not for everyone, but I had to abstain in that way to learn how to, like connect that energy to God. And then I was like, I won't accept anything that doesn't have this heart connection, doesn't have this like cosmic thing. Like I literally cannot tolerate men or connections or sex or anything that doesn't have that, because I know what that's like, and I know my capacity for connection to something higher now through this energy. And it's like, I know what that's like on my own. I've had that experience with other men, I'm not a man, but with men in a container like that. And it can be so much more, like the scope opens up so much more, and then you just won't go back into those behaviors because you're like, well, that doesn't offer me anything anymore. And you might, like, I did slip back a few times and have like a one night stand or something like that, and I was like,
It's
oh
okay.
yeah, it's okay, but it's like, oh, that just doesn't feel like good. I just
You
don't
have
like
to feel
that.
it. You have to
Yeah,
see, this doesn't feel any good, but it's okay.
yeah.
This is part of the learning journey. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I would like to add actually, because like if we said directly how with men, then the way I support men is we go on a challenge. This is the program I have, and we go on a 30-day challenge of semen retention, which semen retention means sexual cultivation, not throwing away my life force. So I designed this program where in 30 days, they will understand the power of their life force if they don't throw it away. But it's not only retain your semen and you're like, what? I ejaculate, because mainly I have men that are 70 years old clients that they ejaculated every day in their life, and they're 70 years old. Imagine. And then they come and have this program, and after 7 days they're like a rocket, because after 7 days that we don't ejaculate, we have 45% more of testosterone as men in 7 days.
It's
So
impressive. Yeah.
I teach, and that's what I teach, and what I share is just cultivating your sexual energy. For men is semen retention, but then transmuting sexual energy, because only holding your semen, well, that was going to grow your balls, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to be horny, and you're going to be angry, and you're like, what the fuck is this? And I'm going to just want to fuck anything that comes in front of me, right? So the program and the journey is really as important as cultivating sexual energy is transmuting sexual energy. And that's where the kundalini and the tantra is all about. And this is what real tantra is, because tantra is not that let me touch your titties and let me touch your yingy, 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 yingy. No, tantra is rising my sexual energy to become a spiritual energy, to bring light into my shadow, and I have the capacity to deal with my demons as are coming out and transmuting and liberating myself. And that's the tantric path, using your sexual energy to, which is kundalini energy, to rise through your spine as it shows everything that has not been touched by consciousness and shows you the way back to consciousness. And that's what it is.
I love that. Yeah, there's so much bullshit in the tantra space. I'm going to do a whole podcast about
Yeah.
how but people completely misconstrue what tantra is actually about. And for me, it's always been like connecting to the divine. Like that's what the core of tantra is connection to the divine. Whether I'm experiencing that connection solo through my experiences or with someone else sharing that space and energy, it's that life force that you're sharing with someone. And I love that you said that, because it's so important that people need to know this about tantra. That's like, but it really is. It's not this shit. Yeah, I mean, it's especially in Bali, there's so much bullshit around tantra in Bali, and just distortions in that industry and space.
I believe my journey is a tantric journey. It's coming back to my divinity. Is letting go, remembering, having the capacity as my masculine to hold the feminine, to build that capacity to hold this powerful energy that rises up within me and shows me my shadows and my fears, and they come full front, and I don't push them back anymore, and I have that masculine presence to allow them to come out and liberate me as I'm making my way back to self, to heart, to divinity, to light. That is tantric path. And
Yeah, in a
that
union, that's what it is. It's an inner
back into
union journey.
union.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back
I
into
love
union.
that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What a great place to finish this. If people would like to come find you and maybe do one of your purification journeys or just see what
Yeah.
you're about, follow you, how can they do that?
Tiaga tiaga.world, WORLD. And on my Instagram, I have all my programs. I share a lot in Spanish, because I feel I have the responsibility to bring this to Latin America and to my community. But I teach in English. I have my 30-day semen retention program in Spanish and English, and I do mentorship in Spanish and English. So I think the best would be to my Instagram, reach out, and on my link tree, you will find my programs and everything that is all about. And my 30-day semen retention journey is coming up soon. So if this touches you and this is something you want to do, reach out there. I'm always there to support.
I love that. Thank you. Amazing. And it's powerful work. And I know like the value of the work that you're doing. So I would definitely recommend that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here with your wisdom and your beauty and your grace and your power. And I can't wait to see you again. I really miss you.
I know. I was very surprised. I was surprised and I was like, what the hell? With your first episode saying you're going to come back to Bali. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You better bring your cute butt very soon, please.
I am. I'll be back. I'll be back in March. Okay. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you, beautiful beings. And thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for this time. Awesome.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Cracked Open. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share with a friend if this episode has served you in any way. For more information about the work that I do or to get in touch with me, read the show notes or head to beckmylonis.com. Until next time, beautiful soul.